Maybe. We'll share with the rest of the class. Fuck.
We're professionals.
We are. Welcome, everyone, to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-looking Nerf herders. This is a live streaming video podcast by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans. And today we're going to be discussing the novel Han Solo and the Lost Legacy, the final book in the original Han Solo trilogy.
Yeah!
This
Man!
was fucking golden.
Yeah, I was stoked on this one. Like, the last one was a little meh. The first one I enjoyed a lot, but this one I felt like was, if not the best, then like top 2 out of the trilogy. I think the strength of this was its length. It's like a really good horror film. You know, you're like an hour and 20, 30 minutes in, and then it ends, and you're just like, that was the greatest compacted story, and just everything about it was wonderful. I felt like the story took me in directions I didn't expect, and then it sort of twisted those. What was Rian Johnson always trying to do that ended up like punching him in the face? He was trying to like divert expectations or subvert expectations, and this actually did it well. So he should probably take a cue from this goddamn novel on his next film.
See, that's the shitty thing. Like, Rian Johnson is a good filmmaker.
He is. Well, yeah.
Star Wars, not so much. Yeah. So, yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. Yeah, no, this one, like, pacing was perfect. Like, I feel like that was part of the problem with the last book, which, ironically enough, the second in the series was the shortest in the series.
Yeah.
But it felt so drawn
really
the fuck
did.
out. With this, it was like a little bit of setup, and then like chapter 2 or 3, it was just bam, bam, bam. Like you're here, then you're here, then you're here, and there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't overwhelming. Like this was a very well balanced novel.
Yeah. So as far as timeline goes, this was released after Empire Strikes Back. So it is the first novel after Empire, and it's still in the original Han Solo trilogy, and so we're still sort of getting this basic understanding of what the galaxy is doing. As far as timeline goes, he still hasn't even met up with the rebellion in any fashion at all, and so this is all pre-Jabba the Hutt engagement. And I think they even mention it.
Yeah, it is towards the end. Well, no, it is the end where he talks about, hey, Chewie, maybe we can meet with Jabba and get him to spearhead this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you wacky Solo.
But there's so much great in this novel. I mean, first of all, it's the first mention in my understanding of the Old Republic, like in that nomenclature of saying the Old Republic. We knew in the first Star Wars film that there were Jedi Knights who protected the galaxy for 1,000 years. But the mention of the Old Republic, was that in the original Star Wars? I don't think it was.
I'm having a real hard time
Wars,
remembering.
But I don't remember the Old Republic. And the Old Republic, for those of us now, after having played 2 video games, read tons of damn comics, read a bunch of novels, the Old Republic is a big fucking deal. And to have this be the first mention of it, and the way they express it is so interesting. Star Wars always seems to be like, no matter what 1,000-year plus or minus you're in, the technology is all kind of similar. The prequels tried to make it all glossy and clean, but the Old Republic stuff sort of shit the bed on that. So we've always gotten this idea of a used, lived-in world where there's no real technological advances.
I was like, the Old Republic kind of was that way, but not in any canonical sense. Like the games themselves were that way, where there was a lot of almost felt like older technology, and definitely some of the places that you would visit in the first 2 games. Well, I guess even the third one, it felt lived in. But I see what you're getting at. Yeah, there's MMO, the Old Republic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with that one as much as the first 2 RPGs. Yeah, I mean, I just love the idea that you have this sort of lived-in world, and really the whole payoff of this novel at the very end
Oh my
I
God.
don't want to sort of like give it all away, but we might as well just talk about it.
Fucking
The
funny.
treasure that everyone's searching for is antiquated.
Yeah, like beyond antiquated.
Worthless. And it's just beautiful. Like, of
Yeah.
course that would be the case. You're in a galaxy of a continuing technological advances. Why would you think that 1,000+ year old treasure would be worth anything today? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any logical sense. We live in a world where we're like, oh, ancient Egypt, in the 50s, ancient Egypt was like, oh, the pinnacle of treasure, and we're going to go find lost villages of gold in South America, and we're going to pillage places in ancient Egypt to find gold and treasures of yore. But this is thousands of years of time has passed. How could that even be a thing anymore? So it was like the presentation was, we're going to be an Indiana Jones adventure. Mm-hmm. The payoff was like Encino Man. It was like, what? This is not what I paid for. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I'll buy that for $1.
And it's like not even. I don't want to talk myself out of loving this. The setup and the payoff, I thought of themselves were great, but there was tons of other groups living in on this fucking manufactured dream. A whole group also trying to sort of feed off of it and like steal from them. You had an old fucking gunslinger rival of Han's. I mean, he was the better of Han, to be fair. Even Han knew that. Yeah. But he was sort of like gaming his way into trying to make money off of this sort of lost, sort of like a Goonies thing. Like, we're going to find money to save the fucking... Whatever.
Yeah. This is definitely Goonies, but the pirate ship had dick on it.
It was like, what would be the equivalent? Instead of like Spanish gold, it would have been like olives. It would have been like some ridiculous thing that was valuable back in the day. It's like cumin, like just buckets of cumin.
You know what? Yeah. Okay. That's exactly it. It's like the ship ended up just being covered in spices, especially the way, and if whatever, we can jump to the end right now, cause we'll discuss everything in between. So what is it? It's Zim the Despot, warlord from, past millennia, hides essentially a ship full of treasure, which do we have the name of the ship? Fuck, I didn't write it down either. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the ship is carrying just this priceless amount
of Ranroon.
Yep, it's right there, right in front of my face. I just making sure you saw it, Adam.
Queen of Ranroon.
So yeah, like the whole idea is that one of the characters, their sister found this log that explained where it was, and that this, often dreamed of treasure that was considered to be a myth was actually real, and turns out it's just rubbish. Like it's an antiquated technology that at that point was invaluable. Like if it would have been used properly, and it even is said in the novel that if it would have been utilized properly, Zim would have literally ruled that entire section of the galaxy.
Like it did talk about how he fell, right? I'm trying to remember that. It's been a week since I've read this.
Sort of. I feel like it was just sort of like a nobody knew quite what happened, because the Queen of Ranroon was his capital ship, and to sort of get people off of the trail of the treasure, he kind of just like bounced around and all that shit, and then it just kind of went missing. So the ship itself is gone.
Yeah.
So presumably Zim disappeared with that, but there's no real record of what happened.
Yeah, what's amazing about this is a little bit of Hills Have Eyes. So you
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
The Queen of Ranroon sort of, and the people that are like working on it, sort
the
of
survivors,
mates, as it were. They crash land, or they land safely or whatever on this weird planet in the middle of fucking nowhere that's called the like Ur-7, but it's in the Tyon hegemony.
Yeah.
So it's in the middle of fucking nowhere space. The corporate sector doesn't have any power here. The Empire doesn't have any power here. And the people that survive that landing for generations have grown, much like the droids that they end up waking up later, to just sort of revolve this culture around protecting this ancient treasure. So much so that the cult breaks out into the local town sort of shipyards and infiltrates the different guilds and stuff, so that when people come looking for it, they're actually taken out by these cult members that are then protecting this literally worthless treasure hoard.
Yeah, which that's the crazy thing, because like the only thing that I sort of have an issue with, kind of, I mean, I guess when you put it that way, it kind of makes more sense. But the problem I was having with it was the fact that it was essentially a religious order.
Yeah.
And they stuck to themselves. It's like, where the fuck does all the money come from? Because like it alludes to them siphoning off the treasure to continue it, but it's only people in power, like the steward of the treasure. And it's like, where the fuck are they coming up with this money? Because of course at the end you find out what it is. And it's like that they even say in it that you can't even cart that shit off because nobody fucking cares about it anymore. But yeah, I guess it would kind of make sense with having an infiltration into the local economy and stuff.
I do really like the way that it is like this pirate ship, right? It's got booby traps, like as old man gunslinger
really
comes
fucking
across.
good ones.
Like amazing situations where, you know, there's a cult protecting it. You've got natural booby traps. You've got robot guards, like an army, like a straight up army that could have taken over the galaxy had not, I don't know, Destiny befallen Zur or whatever the hell his name is. Now I'm starting to think he's like Zur from, not Zim, but Zur from Ghostbusters. But like, like Zool, yeah, I don't even fucking know that right. It's just like little minutia story points from a bunch of different great stories all put together, and I can't help but I don't even think it's derivative, because I feel like it was before the time of some of these other storylines, but it was so much fun for me to read. And the pacing, again, you know, I sort of talked about at the very beginning, where it's like a well-crafted horror film that's really short, just over an hour, but it feels contained and you feel satisfied even though it's just over an hour. You know, it's a good, satisfying story, because ultimately we walk in again on Han Solo and Chewbacca where they're sort of hard up. They've evaded the corporate security, but, you know, they're sort of taking a job that they don't really want to take, but they got to do what they got to do. And then suddenly an old friend comes in the mix. And he's like, hey, I got a proposition. I got this treasure map here with an X on it. What do you say? And they're just like, no. And Chewbacca's like, and Han's like, yes. Like, all it takes is Chewie saying yeah.
Dude, that's the first 2 chapters of the goddamn book.
I know.
Like, perfect. Like, I will say, as much as I thought it was kind of a dumb setup, like the way it started, I did love the fact that it was so Han Solo that the guy he's working for, he's like, you know, fuck this guy. I'm fucking leaving. I'm going to show this peckerhead up with this piece of shit ship right here. And he outperforms the stunt pilot that's there performing for the fucking, what was it, the king, queen, whatever.
Just to fucking show off, man.
Yeah, with essentially a van. It's like, hell yeah. That's Han fucking Solo.
It was a fucking A-team van.
Yeah,
pretty much. Like doing starship maneuvers.
Yeah, Chris, this was, anything with Star Wars was authorized by George.
Yeah, until the mouse got him.
Yeah.
He just bent him over and no lube or anything, just took him.
Yeah, man, it's South Park. They did it right.
Oh, really?
Oh, did you not see that? I thought that's what you were talking about.
No.
Yeah, man, the fucking South Park, they made an episode. It was right after the cell, and it was Stormtrooper bent over and Uncle George and the mouse just fucking railing him.
Whoa!
And they were crying about how they raped their friend.
Wow!
It's hilarious.
Whoa! I had no idea. I thought I was being clever.
I mean, you were.
Damn it. Fuck you, South Park again! You bastards beat me to it by years. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought the setup was classic Han Solo. I mean, we've always been shown this version of Han Solo. He's always broke. He's always up for a ridiculous scheme, and he always makes it out because he's the luckiest motherfucker in the galaxy.
Yep.
Like, that's him. He's not the smartest. He's not the best looking. He's not the fastest. but he's the luckiest motherfucker of anyone. He can outlive anyone. Like this gunslinger that is fucking after him from the last goddamn one, Galandro. First of all, I really want to see Galandro in live action. I got to see what this guy looks like.
I do too, man. So it's probably because of the fact that I just finished rereading the Dark Tower series, but
Okay.
I just can't help but imagine Galandro as the space Roland. It's just, yeah, that's pretty much what I said.
Is he the Matthew McConaughey character?
No, he's the Idris Elba character, but Idris Elba is not anywhere remotely like the book Roland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Same with Matthew McConaughey. He's closer to like the Skarsgård in the Stand remake.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
You didn't watch that during COVID? Jesus Christ.
Was it worth it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, as somebody who, like, I literally finished reading The Stand, like the full version of The Stand, a day before it started. So it was right there on my head the whole time I was watching it. And there's a couple of things where they had to change it, of course, because, like, if you've ever read The Stand, there's too much to put in anything. But they got it pretty fucking close. And yeah, Skarsgård was like the perfect walking man, or the walking dude. So
that was Galandro for you?
Yeah.
Now I gotta read it. Now I gotta watch it. Okay. I love Galandro, not just because he's sure of himself because he knows he's the best, but he's sure of himself because he knows he's the best because Han knows he's the best. It's almost as if in all of these books, if Han Solo in his sort of mind dialogue would have been like, he's just not that great, I just need to hone up on my skills, I would believe him. I'd be like, yeah, no, you're better. But he's not like that. He's like, I'm fucked. This guy's really good and I can't beat him. I just got lucky last time and I'm going to die. Like, that's why I love Galandro so much, is because if Han Solo believes he's bad, we know he's bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, Han Solo is so great in this trilogy, especially in this last one, I think. I mean, they go through insane sort of George Lucas adventures in this. They go through getting onto planet. They go through getting through port. They go through like overland open sea battles between rival factions of sea creatures.
Didn't see that one coming.
I never thought I would want to see a shrimp West Side Story.
Yeah, but it was fantastic.
It was pretty dope. Weird.
I kept kind of trying to make them narwhals, but with hands they could snap. That's what I kept trying to put in my head the whole time until they started talking about the blowhole on the top. It's like, you guys ruined it for me. The illusion was almost there, because I just love the idea of a narwhal flipping a nickel, toothpick in his mouth, like, what do you want? Like,
the Jackie Daytona of narwhals.
Not where I was going, but I love that even more. Yeah. That was so weird, but it wasn't. It fit weird. So fucking well. Especially because it tied stuff together of, like, oh, well, this cartel's doing this here, and they're owned by this, that's why we're this way, and blah blah blah. Yeah, it was so fucking bizarre and perfect.
Yeah, I just love how crazy out of the box they went with this. And the thing is even in the most insane parts, like they did a whole sequence of Han and his team going up to this ancient cult's Zims, the destroyer's ship, and then getting chased away by this fucking wartime ancient technology defenders, and like having to hide and going through like weird snow drifts and stuff. And I was in my mind imagining Willow when they're on the shield, like bouncing around, and Chewie was like going crazy as they're sledding down the mountain away from these ostensibly tanks. Like, it was insane. The whole novel was fucking crazy. It was amazing.
Right. And it's so funny because as we're discussing, I'm like, God, this sounds stupid as hell.
It really does.
But I want to reread this. Like, no joke. As soon as I finished it, I'm like, God, that was great. That's probably one of the greatest Star Wars books I've read in the past few years.
Yeah.
And I want to read it again.
It was so much fun. So ridiculous and so much fun. And it was, again, I want to keep going back to the length of this thing because it is a quick read. It's not long.
Yeah, it was just under 200 pages.
Yeah.
I don't quite remember the count, and I thought I had the books sitting next to me, but I don't. But yeah, I mean, it's something like, I mean, I pretty much did like a chapter a night over a couple of weeks, and it went so quick.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Bullock shows up again, of course, and so does Blue Max, and they're as good as we've ever been introduced to them. We actually leave them in the end, if memory is serving me right.
Yeah, which is surprising because prior to that, well, I guess it's not surprising because ultimately they're offered a job that they'd be stupid to pass up. But right before the very end of this book, Han's looking at Chewie like, fuck, man, as soon as we're done with all this shit, they're full crew members.
Yeah.
And that's coming from Han Solo, who doesn't like droids.
Fucking hates droids.
Yeah, so they're pretty fucking boss.
They're awesome. And again, they're following the whole droid through line that we've always seen throughout all of Star Wars from the beginning. The droids save your life. They're always the ones to come in a pinch and save your ass when you need it the most. And just to have a name Bullocks, he's fucking great.
It's just perfect.
Childish and awesome in every fucking way. It means balls, people.
Yes.
I loved Inspector Keek, part of such a weird, almost like offensive name, but I'm not sure why. I feel like I shouldn't even say the K word. Like I can't say it, only they can say it. Type word. It's weird. But like him just being this security officer, it's like, well, what's give me the vocal order to open it, knowing that he set up the vocal encoder in order to open the vault when they come in, knowing that he chased off the girl's sister, and she's just like, yeah, vocal, the hills are alive, like just making shit up, trying to open the fucking.
I completely forgot about that part.
No matter what they do, he's fucking with them. It's like calling their bluff. They don't fucking know. He knows that they don't know. And meanwhile, we've never resolved what happened to this girl. Like she died, she was eaten. Like what the fuck happened to her?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah,
we know she went to the cult, but we don't know what happened to her.
Yeah, Lonnie. Well, and she got out too because that's how she got the log recorder disc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think they ever touched on what actually happened to Lonnie. Just that she's dead.
Yeah, I guess, or she's like teaching yoga in some Tatooine, sweat den.
Name like Lonnie, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Teaching Bikram yoga, like hot yoga.
Fuck yeah! I mean, that's a great place to do it.
Like Boba Fett's in there with her. He's fucking learning to grow as a human. Fuck him.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't talk while he's doing it.
Continue chasing Han, you dick. All right. That's what you're fucking built for, fucking Boba. Pussy. Shoving a lizard up your nose, asshat.
Right. And then, throw one over this way, too.
Yeah, for real.
I want to do a snot lizard.
No, but for real. I would totally do a snot lizard. Like, I really want to see if I could even handle it. I feel like it'd be so weird, I'd freak the fuck out as it's like trying to claw its way in my nose. It's not big enough, fuck! But
yeah, I feel like it'd be like ayahuasca meets getting mauled internally by an animal.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of shitting your pants, like literally and metaphorically. And you're going to have like the worst bloody nose ever.
Yeah. It would be a lot like a lizard climbing its way into your brain through your nose. Literally.
I think you're onto something.
Fucking literally. You're just like, ah. No, I love this for the Clone Wars references, the fucking old Republic references. The idea that Wookiees count coup is new to me. I didn't know that was a thing. They brought that up. Like, that's a very Native American sort of reference to make. I don't even know if it's fucking real, but I know that it's something that I've been told is real, so it must be true. Because everything the white man says about fucking Native Americans must be true.
I would imagine.
So,
I mean, the winners write history, so it's got to be right.
Had you heard about Wookiees counting coup before?
Nope.
As soon as I read that, I was like, what? And I read it again. I was like, I'm making this a note. Because that sounds strange. So for those of you who don't know, it's just like, I don't know, the way I've always interpreted it through my education is it's basically a way of, it's like props. It's like, putting a notch in your belt. Like I counted coup 10 times. I like ran up to my enemy and I smacked him on the ass. Not literally, tapping him or whatever. And then you fucking run away. And the fact that you survived walking up to them and fucking touching them and then walking away alive means that you're a tough ass warrior and they're bitches because they were touched. Like, right? Is that kind of the thing? I don't know.
That sounds like that could be a thing. I don't know.
All right, I'm making it up. It's a thing. And so Wookiees, they don't need to count coup. They take arms. Just fucking take an arm.
That is the weird thing because it's like they're a warrior culture. Like you die, that's it. They're gonna kill you, and they're gonna go, and then go about their day.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was weird. Okay, so skloobing. Can we talk about skloobing really quick?
Skloobing.
So they said skloobing is the receptacle that you put in your mouth to go. I guess it's like scuba diving or something in order to deal with the water. But skloobing in a receptacle sounds very different to me. Like I feel like it's something very gross.
Honestly, it just sounds like you're gonna like kind of bite down on a snorkel and dive into a porta potty. It's kind of the feeling I got from that sound or that word.
It's a weird word to use, like skloobing. They're going to be skloobing. So they skloob in a receptacle? Like,
yeah, there's
a frat house? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
It might be.
Who's skloobing? What does that mean? And what is the receptacle? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Is it a noun? I need to know.
There was a few things. I'm trying to remember what all, because like I have my notes, but I didn't send it. Oh yeah, man. I believe it, Chris. That's why it's
everyone knows it's a premium
Mexico. Yeah, service. It's $100, but $100 gets you pretty far in Mexico. Like skloobing and then referring to TKs as snowmen. Yeah,
it's weird too.
Weird.
The whole idea, the references of droids was sort of throwing me off. I wish there was like some sort of schematic of the war droid that Zim had. And I know that on one of the covers it showed like this sort of army of droids.
Like the one that's up now.
Oh, well, there you go. Right there.
Yeah.
Trying to, but I still don't think it's worth. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to see all the variations. And then these droids were very strange because as soon as like Blue Max and Bollocks were talking to them, they're like, why are you saying this to me? What authority do you have? And they're like, I'm a droid, bitch. And they're like, yes, you are. Okay.
Well, it was because they were talking through like binary beeps or some shit.
Right.
Like Betamax, God. Blue Max was speaking to him that way because they figured out what the code was to essentially tap into the command center.
Yeah.
Which the command center was a singular droid.
Yeah.
Which I thought was weird, I guess. But yeah.
It's very Clone Wars cartoon type vibe.
Yeah.
All the B droids are controlled by the central hub. And so if one of them is like, nope, we must stop, everyone's just like, and freezes. It's like playing red light, green light as kids.
Yeah. And the weird part is there's that. And then Bollocks is like, at the end, they're like, hey, yeah, go fucking run across the bridge. I got you. And then he pulls out a remote control and changes the pace with a dial, basically, of them marching. It's like, that's a weird thing. Like, why would they be essentially self-controlling units but have a remote control?
It's like an RC control override.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly
remote control override. They went into a hobby shop.
You know, probably. I believe it.
It's like, fuck these droids, man. This is old tech. They're using binary. We're using AI, motherfuckers. Just weird. I love hearing Han Solo's first introduction to his Imperial experience. Because that was hinted at in this through his mentor.
That shit, yeah, man. Like, oh, I can tell you the first story, but I can't tell you how he got his blood stripes. It's like, oh, god damn it, that's so fucking badass. I want that book.
First of all, I wonder if their blood stripe reference is the same as like the Hell's Angels in mine growing up. Like having your wings. Is that the same thing?
Maybe. It might be. It can only happen if your commanding officer was female, and maybe that's how he got his blood stripes. And you know what? That's even cooler than what I could think of.
Fucking hats off to you, hon.
Right?
You did it. You did the chunky mess. Good on you, man.
Right.
So gross for people who know what we're talking about.
Dude, Chris, you and me both, man. We talk about it pretty regularly. Like, I want a droid Gatra movie. For fuck's sake. Like, oh my god.
Not far. The Last Shot novel was great with that. This one was borderline. And that's another thing that I noticed about this that I really appreciated is that they address the idea of droid autonomy from the very get-go. Like, not the first Luke novel that the Splinter of Mind's Eye, but the first Han Solo novel, once Bollocks was introduced, we got that vibe of Han hates droids, but he is endeared to these ones. Yeah. And there's this sort of wrestling of conscience. Like, they deserve to be full-fledged members of his crew, but they're fucking droids. I'm programmed to see droids as ostensibly slaves, but they clearly have a semblance of autonomy above and beyond their programming. And that, whatever that leeway is enough to save my ass whenever I fucking need it to be saved. So maybe we should think of them not as tools, but as individuals. And I love that, like, it's one thing nearly 50 years in for us to reflect back on and be like, oh yeah, droids should be respected. It's another thing from the fucking beginning of them saying, no, this has always been the case. No one's ever picked up on it before, but fucking these are living entities. Let's show some goddamn respect.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that to be an exclamation mark. Right.
No, that was apt.
Thought there was gonna be some back and forth. All right, so
no, man, I couldn't agree more. Like, and that's the great part about like revisiting books like this, because this is before fucking Empire. Well, I guess this one was released right after Empire, but it was written before Empire was released. So to see things like, I wonder when reading books like this, how much of what was written was not necessarily dictated by Uncle George, but like there's like, here's the realm you need to stay within to carry on a story if I'm going to carry it on, wink wink nudge nudge. And how much of it was Uncle George being like, that's a great fucking point, I should put that into this. Right. And of course we'll probably never know, but it's just so crazy to think that we're reading something like this and it's still, there's aspects of it that might have possibly shaped the Star Wars we know and love now. Yeah. And I fucking love it.
It is like, Lucas has always been a very progressive human being. Like, as far as politics go, he is 100% progressive in everything that he's ever said in any fucking quote or reference I've ever read or seen him speak on fucking captured video. I don't know if it's AI, if we're already in the Matrix or not, but like, as far as I know. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's always sort of had that in mind, but Lucas has always been one of those cats that's super cool with sort of taking a great idea and running with it. He has an overarching concept, and then if the art department comes with something that's like really sort of off the wall, that'll spur something in his mind that's like, oh yeah, let's do that. And if another author comes in that he trusts that sort of suggests some sort of concept, he's like, yes, let's run with that. And so just like, in one of those archive books where he's sort of riffing with Kirshner and I can't remember the director's name who did Jedi, but they were all riffing about how they were going to sort of flesh out the storyline of Return of the Jedi and how they disagreed and how willing Lucas was to bend his original story to fit their perspectives. and what they wanted to see out of it, I could totally see him being like, oh yeah, this author Brian Daley has this great idea about droids, being sympathetic. I want to put that into it because it's a very human thing. It's a relatable idea. Let's fucking inject it. That's what I love. Arguably the best about George Lucas is that, he's not a great storyteller. He's not a great writer. I think he's a groundbreaking filmmaker, but I don't think everything he's done is great. When he has other people involved, it ends up being great. Like, he does stuff that's good. When other people are involved, it's great. And I think the strength of him is being able to take feedback and sort of progress that feedback into a larger narrative. I kind of see that's where he was going with the droid stuff. And at least that's where I'd like to think. And I really like it because in the same way that people reflect back on Romero's Night of the Living Dead as a racial commentary of the time, I do feel like we can sort of apply the same idea of subjugated peoples and sort of injecting droids into that. I mean, we don't have to be in a colonial situation to recognize that people are marginalized and subjugated. I mean, in every sense of the word.
That's just the human existence.
Yeah, I mean, slavery is alive and well and has been since the dawn of time. So, not that it's a good thing, just that it exists. So to see elements like this sort of injected into sci-fi and fantasy, well, yeah, it just makes sense because that's the life we're living. That's the truth of our world. And to make a fantasy world believable, it has to have some element, like a lie, a little bit of truth injected to make you believe it. I dig it. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. The best traits of George Lucas was each movie had something new in it, good and bad. Well, I think the best thing about him was not so much of what was in it, but the technology that he advanced. I think his contribution in our generation, and of course every future generation, is going to be the technology. I don't think anyone who hasn't actually looked into the technology of Star Wars films really appreciates what Lucas actually brought to the table. Right. There would be no Terminator 2. There would be no Willow. There would be no, and I only mention that because the morphing technology that sort of pushed off films like Abyss and Terminator 2. Like, there would be no groundbreaking computer technology, or it would be later developed if it wasn't for Lucas. I mean, he's the one that had the vision to push that. And whereas I think a lot of his films suffered for it because it was groundbreaking technology, and he sacrificed story for the sake of showcasing technology in some cases, in my opinion. It wasn't always sort of presented in the best light, especially with the cleanliness of the prequels. But I actually think that's what makes it truly great, is that he took those chances and he pioneered those advances and ended up being amazing. Like, the same thing with fucking... I've read his goddamn book. The Apple guy.
Oh, Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah. Anyway, fuck him.
Well, and I feel like another one of his best traits is the fact that he's like the perfect director, where he's more of a collaborator than anything else. Sure. Because, I mean, that's the thing, is if somebody else has a good idea, he's not going to fucking be like, oh, no, I didn't come up with it, so fuck you. Like, I mean, you look at some of the greatest moments in cinema and television history, it's always been from somebody that, if you had an ego in charge, it would have never happened. Like, the one that always comes to mind is the Bryan Cranston thing in Seinfeld when he's the dentist, like, where he just takes that huff. That was from a fucking, no, don't quote me on this. I want to say it was from either a gaffer or a boom mic, boom operator. But yeah, it was just like,
it's very Blue Velvet,
below the line type of thing, and dude's like, it'd be really funny if you took a real big hit before you started. And this is Bryan fucking Cranston, like, he's awesome. He's amazing. Like, if you guys don't understand how amazing he is, I mean, just Breaking Bad alone, all you need to do is watch that. You'll understand he is phenomenal. Like, he is just a mensch. But yeah, he's just like, below the line person tells him something be funny, he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this shit. And he has given nothing but credit to the person that told him to do that shit. And that's like been one of Lucas's biggest things, and I love him for that.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about skloobing again. I would really like to skloob right now. Not necessarily with everyone watching, but I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean,
I do feel like it's
whatever.
Gross.
Hey, people pay for this channel now, so we got to give them something extra.
We have membership.
Fuck yeah, we do.
Now we finally made it. 7-10 decade. I don't know how long we've been doing this. But I don't want to say
it's been like it's been pretty close to like 7, maybe 8 years, but we're finally official. God damn it! Fuck yeah, Chris. Fuck yeah.
With all the emojis. Long time, a lot of hours, a lot of work went into this, and a lot of nonsense. I'm surprised you people are watching.
A little bit of nonsense. Yeah.
But thanks. I appreciate it. We're not alone. We're not the only scruffy looking nerf herders on the fucking inner tubes.
Right.
There are clearly others out there. We appreciate y'all.
Fuck yeah, we do.
I would say definitely read Han Solo and the Lost Legacy. It was a mix between an Indiana Jones and a Han Solo story in the best of ways.
Yeah, definitely. And the characters didn't feel like there's times where you read a Star Wars book or just really any book, and characters are introduced, of course, to push the story, and then just kind of feel like they're dropped on you. All the characters in this honestly worked really well for me, especially oh god, what was his name? Skinks. The professor.
Skinks
that dude
was amazing.
Was fucking great because he's a nerd. He doesn't belong there at all. At best, he's an archaeologist. At worst, he's one of us that just
he's like a centipede or like a beetle.
Yeah, essentially he's like a caterpillar. Yeah. But he's
a fucking insect.
And it's so good, especially the part where he gets drunk. I fucking
and he takes the bottle.
Yeah, it's just so funny. Like Han just off the cuff is like, "Hey man, you should should totally just relax and take a little bit of this." Oh, this is my first time imbibing alcohol. And he gets blackout drunk in Chewbacca's bag, and he goes to pull out the flask, and he's just curled around the fucking thing. Like, yeah, man, I've been there, dude.
I love this fucking insect. Yeah, no, 100%.
And just like, and skipping to the end, I mean, he's literally the savior of Han Solo in this book, because Galandro bested Han Solo. He fucking popped him twice.
Of course.
And that's it. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to go.
Yeah, Han was fucked. He was a prisoner. He was going to go to jail for the rest of his life. He was going to do hard labor, just tortured.
And not only that, all of his friends were going to get murdered in front of him. But
he was fucked.
But Skinks, being the fucking nerdy dude he is, was like, oh yeah, these weapon detectors, I could steal a couple. And then Galandro's not going to realize it, and then he's going to get killed because they were lights for anti-weapon things, and he just got blasted the fuck away. Like, they talk about him being nothing but charred remains on the way out, and it's like, that wouldn't have happened without our little drunk caterpillar.
I imagine what should have happened in that final episode of Ahsoka when Thrawn was like blasting the land with his Star Destroyer. Galandro ended up like Ahsoka and her companions should have.
Yeah.
Like, by all rights. Just completely destroyed and nothing but charred meat. It was so amazing because as good as you are, as fast a draw as you are, ancient old fucking Republic technology is still going to fuck you up. Like, you don't even realize it's there, and it's going to end your goddamn life. I love that idea. It's this leveling factor. This is a galaxy that is thousands, tens of thousands of years old. And this technology that they've all sort of, raised up in, is sort of inherited through legacy of other generations. They don't even fully comprehend its like full capacity, because they act as if it's just, it's always a toaster. It's always been here. What did it take to make a fucking toaster? We just sort of abuse the technology. But there's shit you still don't understand about it. And there's fucking uses you still understand. You don't understand the coding of these droids that are thousands of years old, that are just operating, and they're only, like, you get in their mind, all you have to do is destroy the bad guy. And they're like, who's the bad guy? That guy. Done. and they just move like this hive mind. And you're like, whoa, no, let's rationalize. Let's fucking make a deal. Let's do something. Let me tap dance in front of you. Anything. They don't give a fuck. They're just going to execute their orders, and they're thousands of years old. Like, you can't hack that shit. It's like trying to hack a fucking Betamax. First of all, have you seen a film in Betamax?
I have not, and it's quite disappointing because it is superior to VHS. Like, I know that much.
That's what I've heard.
But
I saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for the first time in Betamax. Very, very good experience. It was in a friend's house in his basement that smelled really bad, and his dad only had a couple Betamax films because he was like one of the 3 people that bought Betamax.
Yeah.
And like, it was awesome. The entire experience was amazing. And then after that, my friend was taking karate, and so he kicked me a few times. So we're still close, clearly. But that's my Betamax story. Sorry, people.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to come across one. Because, I mean, of course, I collect VHS because I'm a fucking loser like that. But, I've never experienced Betamax, so I've always wanted to at least get one cassette and a semi-decent Betamax player.
Be awesome. You can just always show it off. Okay, so what would be the one film that you feel like would be a great... It doesn't even necessarily have to be of the time, but just this is the film that I would like people to see in the best quality version of Betamax, whatever that might be.
Okay.
What would it be?
So if it doesn't have to be of the time, and this is... So... I'm assuming Betamax was still the 4:3 ratio.
Yeah, it was
right?
it was VHS basically.
Okay, so for me, I think the best possible movie to watch on something like that, you're gonna fucking laugh, but I stand by this. Psycho Gorman. I think that would be the perfect movie because it's beautiful. It really is. Like, it's a goofy fucking movie. It's stupid as hell, but it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully lit. The color's amazing, and the makeup is amazing. But to have it kind of shrunk down in the 4:3 ratio and have that little bit of video grain, I think that would be nostalgia porn right there. Even though it came out in 2020.
Yeah. So Psycho Gorman is kind of like it's like a mix between like Monster Squad or like Mob Squad / Goonies of the 2000 era, right?
2020 nonetheless.
The 2020 era, so much later than 2000 era.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically if you mixed Monster Squad with Power Rangers and
so weird,
really bad synth, that is Psycho Gorman.
I did enjoy watching it though.
I fucking love that movie. That honestly, that is my I can't sleep. I'm gonna get baked out of my mind and laugh my ass off until I fall asleep movie.
Wow.
I've watched it an embarrassing amount of times.
Mine is Mandy. I've watched that
dude
too many times.
That's not embarrassing. That is fucking dude. I own the fucking soundtrack.
It's the soundtrack is great.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much about that film that's great. Nicolas Cage notwithstanding. I mean, fuck me. He's great. All right. We're talking about Han Solo.
Yes, we are.
I guess
we're going to get through this, damn it. We're going to get through this.
We might be finished with Han Solo. This was a great book. I mean, he stumbled his way onto this job to try to make tons of money off of this ancient mythological treasure trove. They actually find out it's fucking real. They actually know where it is. They just have to figure it out. And the whole time, the first thing Hans is like, he's like, look, you couldn't get into there? Let's just hover right over the fucking treasure place, burn a hole in the top and grab it. And everyone's like, no, that's not how you do it. We don't want to do that. But that would have solved all the problems.
Fucking do it. Oh, that was so good. I know, man, as soon as they lined up the turbo lasers, I'm like, fuck yeah, they're going to bust their way in. This is going to be so good. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. Well, fuck you, I'm not. I'm going to do it. And God, that was so good.
I loved that there was a cult living to protect this dynasty of worthlessness. I loved that cult invaded the dock fucking harbor, just trying to protect the secret that was worthless.
And the fact that they completely built a second place that was like an exact replica of the tomb just to throw people off. And then it turns out all it is they're basically crystals that were used as shielding before the shielding that we now know of.
Yeah. Just antiquated technology.
And it's so goddamn funny because it's worthless. You can't even sell it.
You're in the Steel Age and it's Bronze Age technology. That's the disparity that we're working with here. They're like, oh, we have a bunch of bronze that was really invaluable back in the day. They're like, but we're not there anymore.
Yeah,
like,
it's so
and
good.
It also like brings this really wonderful sort of compare and contrast about the idea of treasure.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been presented this idea that sunken or buried treasure is like the greatest, most valuable thing in the world. Mm-hmm. But we don't live in a universe where gold is the standard anymore. Mm-hmm. We live in a universe where nothing is the standard. We make it up. We print it when we need it is the standard. Like there's literally no basis for our monetary system at all except for trust. That's it.
Pretty much.
That's it. It's fucking a belief, a hope that you'll pay it back. That's how our entire world ecosystem is founded on at this point. So it would very much be like scuba diving in the middle of the South Pacific, finding some sunken Spanish treasure chest, spending all of your resources trying to get there, fighting through pirates and indigenous peoples and murdering locals and other treasure hunters. You finally pull it up and it's like Pez dispensers. And you're like, wait, what? How the fuck? What? This is worthless. No one gives a fuck. I
stopped collecting them years ago, but you're selling me on this, Adam. I'm down. As long as they're wrapped and still have the candy.
Right. I'm not a monster. Of course they're wrapped.
I love that at the end where that's what they discover. And everybody's just sort of like, oh, what the fuck are we going to do now? And Skinks is just losing his fucking mind. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh my God. I'm going to have my own wing. I'm going to have my own building. I'm going to be a god among archaeology. And all the while, Han's just like, the fuck am I supposed to do with this shit? And he's like, oh, well, yeah, there's probably pictures and stuff you could sell that would be good.
Yeah, they're talking about like paintings and statues,
like art and stuff.
It's amazing.
Oh man. It's so good. It's the best part is that he's just like, fuck this. I'm just gonna go find another job. After everybody else is there, like, and this is kind of the bullshit thing. Like, Skinks is like, well, fuck, I'm gonna be here for years and years. Like, I'm probably gonna finish out my life cycle here, because like any other caterpillar, he has 3 stages of a life cycle. That's a caterpillar, and then I forgot to make note of what it is, but essentially he turns into a butterfly. And the butterfly life cycle, it's pretty short. Like, it's essentially just to carry on his seed and his genetic shit, and then he just dies off. But he's talking like potential decades of staying there. So then he decides to hire on Badger. I don't remember that. I'll just call him Badger because that's funny to me. So him and then his homie Hosty, he's like, well, I'm going to need guards and you guys can clearly do some shit. So why don't you hang out and be my guards? And then he's talking to Bullocks and Blue Max like, hey, you guys clearly cracked into the technology to, help us with the robots. You were able to translate a lot of the shit. Why don't you guys come work for me?
Yeah.
And then Han and Chewie are just like, and he's like, it's like, man, come on. You could at least offered him something. You fuck.
I loved how much he talked about his different versions of himself that he was going to evolve into. Mm-hmm. How he's going to be like crystallized into this butterfly creature. I'm not sure I'll remember you, but you're welcome to come visit me, Han Solo.
Right. He's like, just remember my head markings because the head markings will be the same. And okay, and little along those lines, like I fucking loved that in the span of 200 pages, essentially, this guy was able to introduce a new species to the Star Wars universe, essentially explain, I mean, not necessarily their history, of course, a little bit of their history, but like their entire life cycle, but made it not seem forced. Like it was conversational pieces, and we learned how another species exists just through little quick conversations. And it's like, this is fucking Star Wars right here.
Yeah.
This is peak Star Wars.
It was 100% great. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it and how fast I read through it simply because I enjoyed it so much. It didn't feel like a slog, like it was a weird heist like the last one. It just felt like this natural. And again, maybe it was the allusion to ancient treasure or whatever, because I'm a sucker for that shit. So maybe it was the Indiana Jones references that sort of pulled me in. But in either case, I felt this was 100% Star Wars the whole time, and I loved every goddamn second of it. And I gotta be honest, I wasn't so on board with after the last novel. I was like,
same. It took me some time to actually start it because I was so put off by the last one. And especially with Galandro, it's like that guy's set up to be so cool. They're gonna bring him back. They have to bring him back. Oh, yeah. But am I gonna care that he's back? And it's funny because the final battle before he ends up joining up with them to go get the treasure and shit, I was so fucking pissed. I'm like, a droid blew up his fucking ship and that's how you're going to end him? You have built up so much on this character that I should care because he's a fucking badass and he's the better of Han Solo. And you're just going to blow him up like a bitch? What the fuck is this shit? So, of course, getting into the following chapters is like, okay, thank God.
I dug it, man.
I was about to throw this shit across the room and not finish it.
I really liked the way he went out. I loved the idea of it. Just old technology taking out this old gunslinger. It was super cool. Especially, the thing is, we know when this is set. We know Han Solo's going to live. We know he has a great life with Princess Leia, and he's going to be, busting on Luke Skywalker for a while, and I love that about him. But I was worried when him and Bullocks faced not Bullocks, but whatever the fuck.
Galandro.
Galandro, thank you.
Well, especially when he winged him.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, so nonchalant.
Oh, shit. What are we going to learn?
Yeah, he wings him, and then he's like, oh, well, I'm going to disable it. He shoots him again in the fucking arm. It's like, he's fucked. I know he's not fucked, but Han
was like, look, you're not taking me in. I'm not going to work as a goddamn slave in a mine. Like, you better fucking kill me. And he's like, no, I'm just going to put you down. Like, you can't be more cold than that. And the whole time, like, in my mind, I'm rationalizing, I know he's going to get out of this. I was fucking worried. I was like, holy shit, what else is he going to have to deal with? We just learned about his Imperial experience thus far, as far as the novels have been released. So I'm like, fuck, I'm really worried. Fucking Han Solo's great. I wanted to keep him around. Galandro, I loved him as a character, but I love the way he went out. I love this idea of old technology still being badass enough to take out people who are just a little bit, resting on their laurels on modern technology, don't really think they're in a situation that they're going to get taken down, and then sudden, bam, you're down. Dug it. All right, so lots of great stuff in this novel. Did you have a favorite part?
Let's see. I'm sorry, I was kind of going through my stuff. I think really probably my favorite bit was just getting the peeks at Han Solo's past, because that's always been something that's really fascinated me, and that's part of the reason why Solo is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Is I love the idea of getting a peek behind the scenes of this character that a lot of us growing up wanted to be. Like, that was who I was hoping to grow up to be. So I love that. And then, of course, just the whole wacky Goonies adventure. Like, it was so much fun.
Awesome. I liked Hosty. She didn't want to be involved. She found herself making out with him. She was like, whoa. Let's stop this. This isn't working. I know how this is going to end, so we're just going to keep you at arm's length, and then blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so good.
I love that even a scoundrel, like a scruffy looking Nerf herder, can find a little bit of action in a galaxy far, far and away. And that should be hope for all of you people living in your basements, breathing through your mouths.
Right. Yeah.
Like, there's hope.
There really is.
Not a lot.
You just got to go on a wacky adventure to find it.
Yeah. Find your Bullocks droid with his blue Max companion. Very Ninja Turtle-ish.
Fuck yeah.
And, good luck to you. Hats off. All right. Anything else you wanted to cover with this thing?
No, man. I think we got it. Just, you guys really got to check it out. And there's, if you want to be cheap like I was, you can get the trilogy in a single book that was released by Del Rey.
Yeah.
It's worth it, man. It's so good.
It's really good, and it's really inexpensive. I think like on Kindle, it was definitely under $10. Barely over 5 if memory serves. I mean, it's a very inexpensive trilogy. 2 out of the 3 I thought were really good. The second was meh, but it was still whatever.
The second one's meh. It's still okay, but it's short. So that's kind of the saving grace, is it's not as good as the first and the last, but it's short.
Yeah. You don't have to suffer for very long. In either case, thank you all so much for tuning in, both live in chat or after the fact. We invite you to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to get notified about our upcoming videos. We have, of course, apparel. Check out the links in the description below. We got some scruffy looking Nerf herder clothing for your, panty melting maneuvers. Girls see this.
Guaranteed to work.
They melt.
100%. I mean, definitely take a bucket.
Good ways. Yeah. Maybe a sponge. Have a sponge on hand.
I think that's a little bit easier to carry and hide in your pocket, especially if you get one of the scruffy looking Nerf herder hoodies.
Is that a sponge in your pocket? Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is,
I
baby.
need to soak up your wetness.
I know what I'm in for.
They told me it was going to be soaking wet, so I'm here for the ride, baby. And that's when you get slapped and you never talk to her again.
Hell yeah. Sponsored by Scruffy.
We do, of course, have memberships. So if you want to hook a brother up and help us out a little bit, get our beaks wet a little bit, we appreciate it.
Oh yeah, we do.
We have beaks that need to be wet.
Yeah, it's dry as fuck right now.
It's so funny because there's like zero payout unless you're like $100 or more, which is really funny because normal YouTubers are like, that's paltry, and we're just like, I can't wait to get there.
Oh man, we've already got plans. We're like, fuck yeah, we're gonna make an event of it.
Yeah,
we're gonna fucking like light shit on fire and stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be an experience.
Amazing.
Man.
I don't know if both of us will be in slave leg costume or any of us.
We'll see.
You don't know. Something to look forward to or be horrified by. Either way, until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, my fellow scruffy looking nerfers, may the force be with you.
Let us be jolly and clumsy as humans love to be. Best line in the trilogy.
So true.
Hey, Chris, you fucking rock.
Thanks, Chris.
Seriously, best part of the book. That line right there is like so good.
I really enjoyed this book.
Hell yeah.